you? Well, it's
Thanks for having
funny,
me.
man, Polymarket's been everywhere in the last year, right? Like it's grown up to be this huge thing where we now have Trump posting about his odds and not, pollster odds. So let's walk through the journey. Like how did Polymarket start, how did it grow, and where are we right now?
Yeah, so first of all, thanks for having me. When I think about the last year, we have seen a lot of growth.
Sure,
especially, in awareness in terms of people trading. What I'd really attribute it to, like you said, Trump sharing his odds, is that this idea of trading on things you understand or current events, there's this, of course people want to go and make money for being right, but there's this benefit that I think people overlooked that's really core trait to our business and what we're building in our vision, which is that the pricing of what's yes trading at for a given event is basically the most accurate way to gauge the likelihood of how the future is going to play out for something. And what happened for us is we kept having these markets on these big events, the current thing, and the market would start getting shared organically and it would go viral and everyone would start seeing it, and then people would come and trade, and then they'd build habit and they'd say, hey, why do I need to go on Twitter and read the news and see all these disparate opinions when I can just go and see people with real money on the line, like a high signal probability that's fluctuating in real time. And then people start bookmarking the site, people start telling people about it, and it's been the perfect storm of all these different events, as well as the election cycle where we've seen Polymarket reach critical mass. And when we think back, it's like it was definitely very, if I may say so myself, contrarian to build this and to stick with it, because
why contrarian though?
Because I think that especially in our space, in this idea of building something that's crypto, which I don't necessarily group ourselves in with entirely, but definitely adjacent. People really condense the time frame at which they're going to try something or they're going to try and make something work. And for us, we had a lot of conviction in the vision, and just like any of these new paradigms, whether it's Bitcoin or Ethereum or tokens or NFTs or even AI, it's like before it's real and it's undeniable, there's always skeptics. And we took all that with a grain of salt. So really grateful that I come around now and everyone's a really big fan and they talk about how often they check it, and I think we still have a long ways to go. Yeah,
it's funny, like walking you here to the stage, you got stopped like 4 times, people looking at you saying, oh hey Shane, what's going on? It's like of all the companies here at Consensus, you're the star of the show, it looks like.
Well, I don't know about that. I think, I'm sure there's an element of recency bias, right? Like right now we're really doing well, and I do think we're just getting started, but if I may say so myself, like you look around, a lot of decentralized AI, a lot of grifts. And what we've done is built something that has a real clear value proposition that people, that we thought that there was latent demand for, and that didn't exist. And now people eat it up and they really find a lot of value from it. So, we've gone and taken, I would say, more of a traditional route in terms of building a product and iterating and focusing on a core demographic and customers. And the bet has paid off.
For sure.
So I think that, I think when I speak for the Polymarket team and the people who've been involved for a while, we're really proud that we did it the long way and we didn't just jump on some sort of bandwagon.
Yeah, definitely. You guys closed a huge round recently. What's your current head count? Must be pretty big.
Yeah, well.
Because you're everywhere, really.
Yeah, I guess people are very surprised. We're 20-something people.
20-something people?
Yeah. And when I think about our day-to-day, we're still very scrappy. We're still very much operating like a nimble startup, not complacent, trying to move as quickly as possible, always looking for the next unlocks. And you come back up for air and you meet people here, and they're like, they really, their vision of Polymarket is like this juggernaut, which is new to me and my teammates. So I think that's a nice surprise. But when we spoke about this, like I think that it's kind of an antiquated model to think there's significant correlation between headcount and success, or also headcount and scale, and also headcount and execution and output. Because from what I've seen and from what I've learned from people who've built things much bigger than I have, and people that I look up to, as well as maybe some stories of things that didn't pan out, and as well as my own personal experience, is that when you overhire and you do that willy-nilly because you may have a lot of capital, oftentimes if anything, it decreases productivity.
Yeah.
And it increases bureaucracy. And nonetheless, unfortunately, we brought in some great people. It's also a byproduct of having a very high-profile fundraising round. But we want to maintain being selective, and we still want to be as nimble as possible. Because ultimately, that's what gets the best results, and that's how we won in the first place. Is just focusing on product, moving quickly, and believing in our vision.
Awesome. Yeah. So who trades on your platform, right? Because right now, your current, I guess, assets being traded is north of 150 million, 200 million. It's pretty big. So who's behind this? Are they just crypto nerds? Are they people looking to hedge their bets on world events? Who are your traders?
It's a great question. So this month, I think, is our first month breaking 60 million, which is something we're proud of, but I do think we have still a long ways to go. But there were times where we had many months that were single-digit millions, and we thought that was still material. But I loved hearing from somebody who is a big trader on Polymarket. And they said it's like a speculative experience unlike anything else. It's like a whole new model where, unlike just trying to go and lever long on a cryptocurrency or play some sort of quick thrill game, you can get an additional edge. You increase your likelihood of winning if you go and you do research. If you go and read about what's going on, and you can interpret what people are saying in the news. You read both sides of the political spectrum. When it comes to current events, and that goes and gives you an edge. And then if you're right, it's social, and you get to see, oh, I was smarter than you, I'm right, you're wrong. And there's this very human element that doesn't exist when you're just flipping a cryptocurrency or watching some sort of competition and picking the winner.
For sure, right? You can pump meme coins back and forth, right? But who cares if Dogecoin's up this much, right? It's immaterial to being right about the Trump election, right? Being right about Israel and Iran fighting.
Yeah, and so there is this archetype of people who like trading, understand markets, but also really have opinions, and maybe they're simple and they have a political bias, and they're like, oh, I think there's no way this happens, and then they want to trade. And then there's also people who are going to do a lot of research, and they're going to be thinking and estimating the probability in their head and seeing if they can get edge in the market. I think it's this really novel, latent human behavior and desire that really hadn't been served. But if you think about it, all the time we say, oh, what are the odds, or what are the chances, or you want to bet? I'll bet you this.
Sure.
We talk about it. It's innate in human language. It's embedded in how we think and how we reason, and it's different than saying an opinion out loud.
Yeah.
And what we're doing is making that a reality, building a product for it, which otherwise didn't exist. So, we know that needs to be here. And the coolest part about our growth is to know that, hey, if we didn't persevere through a lot of shit and a lot of times where we were working really hard and it still seemed small in comparison to the hot thing, if we sat here today, there wouldn't be a Polymarket. There's no real second best alternative that people can turn to. So every time when the past few days you go on Twitter, X, and you look at people talking about the election, you look at people talking about current events, there's so much sharing of Polymarket.
Yeah.
And to know that we grinded to go and make that a reality is really fulfilling. But it also gives us confidence, because the idea, and you asked who uses Polymarket, there are the traders, but what is way bigger is this idea that if there's something that you understand and there's a current event, and you can go and you're already on Twitter and you're on news and you're on Google searching about what people have to say about it, right? Mm-hmm. The idea that you can go and see just one probability that's backed by people putting their money where their mouth is, that's fluctuating in real time based on people trading on what the probability of it happening has just seen immense product market fit as an information source where people just can't get enough of it and they keep coming back. And what that has enabled us to do also is just scale as a concept where it's something new that doesn't exist, and now a lot more people know about it because it gets this organic reach. So I think that when you go and explain Polymarket and you explain the pricing to someone new, they actually get it. And if you look around, very few of the things here you can actually understand, or if you explain it to someone, they're like, oh, okay, they have an aha moment. And they do for Polymarket. So I think as long as we never get complacent, keep executing, stay vigilant, stay aggressive. I think that there's a long ways to go in terms of people going and relying on Polymarket and it being ubiquitous.
Quite famously, polls have been wrong a lot in the last election cycle. 2016, 2020, right? Dead wrong about Trump. And on Polymarket right now, Trump is leading substantially. All right, so why are these polls wrong and why is Polymarket right here? Is it because, go ahead.
Well, polls are this black box.
Yeah.
Some legacy media brand goes and asks a ton of people what they think, and then they tell you the percentage of people that think or say they're going to do a certain thing. And that's really low signal. One, because there's no downside to saying an incorrect answer. There's nothing on the line. You have no consequence for being wrong. You have no consequence for lying. But the second thing is that people interpret polls as the likelihood of someone to win, right? That's just not what it is. It's the percentage of people that are saying they're going to vote for a certain person. They feel a certain way. And what people actually care about and what they interpret polls as is the likelihood that something's going to happen. That's what people care about. They want to know, is this going to happen? What are the chances?
Yeah.
And it just so happens that letting people trade millions of dollars on these topics and these events is the best way to get that data and that answer. There are going to be times, there are going to be edge cases, but it's really the best thing that we have in terms of aggregating disparate information as a species, not to get too meta. And I think that it was always inevitable. There's a lot of distrust in polls and legacy media, and it was always inevitable that there was going to be an opening for an alternative information source. I just think that it's funny that, and unexpected, that what it is something that's powered by, it's harnessing this speculative activity where it's trading and putting your money where your mouth is to go in and generate that data. But it works, and the incentives are aligned, so it's sustainable. And we're excited to be leading the charge.
For sure. So looking at your site, right? There's some pretty serious cash on the line. Mm-hmm. Some of these users have bet millions of dollars on these contracts. So they're pretty serious players. Now, on your Twitter account, it's a very, very funny, tone, right? This duality of tones here, serious cash, yet a very frivolous and sarcastic Twitter account.
Yeah.
How does that work? Like, why do you have that brand right now?
Yeah, it's funny. There's someone in the crowd with what was that? The intern hacked the intern. Yeah. I think that we want to build something that is a pioneering company and goes and is a category leader, and I think we've done that. And for that, you have to take yourself more seriously than maybe something that's building something that reads like it's a gimmick. But at the same time, it would be silly, no pun intended, but to neglect memes, right? Yeah. And to snub the idea that and the understanding of how ideas move on the internet. Mm-hmm. I think one of the reasons we've been able to get so much visibility and ubiquity where we really don't do a lot of marketing is because it's genuinely good data, it's interesting, it satiates people's curiosity, and it's funny and relatable, and I think that goes to the social media and the intern. And it's like there's these high leverage, maybe like things that maybe people don't want to touch, where you're on Twitter and you see how viral things go all the time, but you're a real company, you don't want to do that strategy, you just want to do Facebook ads or something, right? But we're scrappy and we're always open-minded to more guerrilla tactics as long as they're positive sum and ethical. And this is no one gets hurt by this, but they get a laugh.
For sure,
and they share it, and then they check it out, and it's always intertwined with the markets. So I think that there's a time and place for different narrative, different voices, and I think dependent on the situation, you got to lean into your strengths.
You wouldn't see a pollster doing that, though, right? You think about pollsters, you think about guys in like suits with bad ties.
Yeah, I'd say the main distinction is that if there's a pollster, you are trusting that pollster.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, well, this pollster seems smarter than this pollster, I'm going to trust their post. Polymarket is the aggregator, right? People are trading. I don't claim to know anything. I just look at the markets, right?
Yeah.
And so for us, the credibility obviously is that there's large size. We've been around and we have social proof, and we've executed and we have dominant market share. But it's also that there's a lot of money on the line, and it's transparent.
Yeah.
And you can see it. It's on chain. It's fully transparent. You can see which address holds what. You can look at the order book. A lot of people obfuscate that stuff, so you never even really know what's true. And for us, it's transparent, and that is trustworthy. You don't need, I'm not telling you to believe this guy's opinion or this person over this person. I'm saying, hey, you know, we're showing you, hey, this is the market. There's oftentimes millions, maybe some markets over $100 million on the line.
Yeah.
And people are putting their money behind their opinions, and it's coming to consensus at this price. And if you really don't agree with it, you know, as the saying goes, like put up or shut up, right? Because if you think that it's mispriced, you know, you can go and buy or sell, and you can move the market if you think you're right, and you can profit. So it's kind of the ultimate gotcha. It's the ultimate, hey, you can talk out your ass as much as you want, but
money's money.
When it comes down to if you're going to bet or not, that's when you really have to talk your talk.
Okay, just to wrap things up, who is Retardio? He's a character on your Twitter account a lot. Who is he? What does he mean?
It's above my pay grade.
Above your pay grade? Okay.
Yeah. Memes are funny. They come in all shapes and sizes. You know, that term didn't originate in the Polymarket camp, although it may be like closely affiliated because it's gone viral, intertwined with what we do. I think if it's anything, and I think the thing people have acknowledged about Polymarket and given us credit for is we're you know, in the trenches. We still, I think that obviously you start in the trenches usually when you're young and you're gritty. And then maybe as you start to raise money and you start to scale, you lose touch with that. And I think when you start to lose in touch with that, that's when, you know, it becomes harder to grow and it becomes harder to innovate and build the right things for your target audience. So for us, it's important to keep our finger on the pulse. And I think that's just one instance of us going and observing, you know, the way the flow is heading and the way the river is flowing, and you know, capitalizing on it and embracing it.
Last question, what's next for you guys? So,
you know, I mean, right now it just feels like there's so many opportunities. Even coming here, it's humbling experience, and I appreciate everyone for coming. And the people who talk about how they have Polymarket bookmarked and they check it all the time, and how you know, they find value in it. There's a lot of exciting things. Obviously, this election cycle, it's only going to heat up further, and you know, we're lucky to really have built the right product. And be, you know, positioned right going into it. And you know, the thing that I would say, to put it in, you know, generally speaking, what we're really excited about is the idea that anyone can ask a question. And you know, it's never going to be a free for all. It's always going to be, you know, it's going to be a methodical approach, and you know, there's going to be guardrails, et cetera. But we're really excited about that because ultimately, when people go and check out the site, they're always like, what about this? Yeah. I'm curious about this. And this idea that, you know, you have a question about the future and you can read people's opinions on Twitter and you could read news articles, but what happens if you could go and ask the global hive mind? And then people who are putting their money in where their mouth is, people who are experts at this, who maybe do it for a living, as well as people who just find it interesting, they're going and participating in the market, and that's giving you this really high quality data back. And you know, I think if there's one thing that I can say that we're really proud of, it's this idea that people, it's not uncommon sentiment now to say that Polymarket's the highest signal information source on the internet. Like the highest signal information source on the internet, that is, you know, not a compliment that's thrown around a lot. It's not thrown around lightly, and you know, we take that seriously, and we want to go and lean into that and really grow into what we think we can be if we're that destination. And you know, it's really exciting, and you know, I just can't wait to keep expanding, because you know, for the people who are users in the community, there's so many untapped opportunities, and I'm excited to.
All right, we're out of time, but thank you so much. That was great.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.